Hey, I'm Nick Williams. Is telemarketing dead or dying? Is offshore telemarketing dead or dying? I'm going to talk to you about that in this video. And by the way, as many of you know, I work with telemarketers, offshore telemarketers specifically, every single day. I'm constantly training. I have dozens and dozens of them on Zoom calls, multiple days each week. So I know exactly how this is unfolding, and there are problems. And let me start by saying, number one, when the virus came, there was a massive influx of activity towards, of course, phone sales. And it may have been you even that started picking up the phone when you never did before. All of a sudden, everybody says, I want to sell insurance over the phone. And in doing so, it's actually blown up the market. So the phones themselves, having nothing to do with the telemarketing side of it or the telemarketers, the actual phone systems and the utilization rate has increased dramatically because of the virus. And that is number one. That is actually first and foremost. We've driven business to the phone. The virus has driven business to the phone. Then there also has been an increase in other industries utilizing offshore telemarketing. So now we're talking more about the telemarketers. And there are, in fact, by the way, one of those industries was realtors. I say was realtors because that's slowing down now. So you have mortgage brokers, realtors, but many, many industries that have never utilized offshore telemarketing or have a very low rate of utilization went to offshore telemarketing in a big way. So this created a greater demand in offshore telemarketing. So that created a problem with the quality of the telemarketers that you would get, because they started saying, well, I can get a job anywhere. But that's not true today. So, but the mentality is still there. Oftentimes, and now this is getting even more specific to strictly offshore telemarketers, oftentimes they're working multiple jobs and not telling you. Oftentimes there is a ulterior motive within that telemarketer that they are not leveling with you. So it takes a certain amount of screening to determine that I've got a good VA, I got somebody that wants the job and wants to work 40 hours a week, and that is going to be an honest relationship. Then when you have that vetting process, just to get a person that is going to be a straight shooter and level with you so that you know that, again, you have a quality person that wants to work and wants to work for you or for me. So what we've done, and I'm going to explain to you how we've done this, and so we have had to change our business model. So we start at a greater level of vetting. So we'll start with hundreds of telemarketers, and we'll go through a cognitive vetting process. We'll go through the dialect. We'll go through the ability to read scripts and stay on script. We'll vet for the energy level that they bring, and then we will give them a written test. So there's tiers, and then we'll give them tests amongst those tiers so that we can determine all of these different components. And then what falls out of hundreds of prospects is maybe 10 or 20 potential telemarketers. And then we still don't know who's going to perform or not. So oftentimes, it's the same as hiring a new agent. If you're hiring agents, or you may be an agent yourself, but you see other agents in the industry. So we'll bring in a telemarketer, we'll train them, they sound good, but then when you leave them alone and they go to work, they don't perform. So now you got to replace them immediately. And that happens more and more frequently. So what we were doing previously was we were bringing in one, and if it didn't work out, we would have to replace them. Now we basically have a multitude of telemarketers being vetted all at once. but it's still the one telemarketer that you get may not be the one that passes the actual on-the-job performance final test, right? Just like agents. Agents that know everything, tell you they got it, they passed the test, they passed AHIP, they passed the certifications with all the companies, but they can't sell insurance. We get the same thing with telemarketers. So we've had to replace telemarketers for agents 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Now we've because of this vetting process that we're doing, we've kind of gotten away from that, but also we have pretty much gotten away from the agent working with the telemarketer, except for a few select accounts. So it's just not working because the agents don't have the time, and apparently that's what they tell me, they don't have the time to put into the telemarketer. And I understand that. I've often argued with agents, why would you not work to develop this talent? But it's just, it's getting tougher. It's getting more and more difficult for the agent actually to be able to go through this process. And it's not just that they have to go through the process with a telemarketer, because if that telemarketer doesn't work out, then they got to go through it all over again. And it's happened where they've had to go through it two or three times. And it's just a bit much. So we've taken that on, and our programs now, if you were to go to Medicare Appointment Setters, MedicareAppointmentSetters.com, you'll see that, and it should see, we're updating all of our programs and everything. It should be in there by the time you view this, that we are no longer setting up a telemarketer one-on-one, one telemarketer with one agent. We do that. We are setting one telemarketer up with one agent, but we're doing it in a manner that we are managing that telemarketer 100%. We're providing the data, we're providing all the training, the ongoing training, the initial training, of course, and also we are providing the dialer, so the agent doesn't do anything but collect the leads. So, and by the way, we don't do just leads, we only do appointments. So again, if you go to MedicareAppointmentSetters.com, that's what you're gonna see, that we're scheduling appointments, we're not just sending you leads. Okay, so telemarketing is not dead. Oh, by the way, there's another component to this that I need to tell you about. I get a call from I get calls from agents, and one in particular it's a FMO, or annuity FMO, and this guy isn't even working with direct with the consumer so much. He does somewhat, but his number comes in, it's spam. I have agents call me all the time. Their number shows up as spam. So what's happening is the big carriers, the big cell phone carriers, AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon, what they've done is they have a grading system. And on that system, and each one of them is different. So it might be, so there are things that trigger you, and all of a sudden your phone number becomes spam. So you as an agent right now may find that your phone number is spam. You could make 50 or 100 phone calls one day. And what happens is, it might be just AT&T. AT&T says, and I don't know what each of them are doing exactly at any time. It's like the algorithm, you don't really know. It may be written down somewhere, but it's always going to change. But AT&T says, wait a minute, the typical person doesn't make 100 phone calls in a day. Spam. There you go. That's it. So it's a constant battle to fight the spam caller ID effect, if you will. So it may say spam risk or something like that when you call somebody. It may say that when a telemarketer is calling, so we're always changing numbers. That's a big deal too. So it's become a handful to manage these telemarketers and managing a telemarketing operation. It's a constant cat and mouse game to do this. Now, here's what's happening. People are answering spam calls now because they're just saying, well, I know my brother-in-law, his number's spam, so what am I going to do? It might be him calling. So people are answering spam calls now. That's a sea change. People are saying everybody's spam. I've got to answer them. Or I might miss business. I might miss an important call from a family member. So spam is being answered. That's number one. And there's another thing that I want you to understand. People do, in fact, have no problem speaking to an offshore telemarketer. They're going to speak to an offshore telemarketer just like they're going to speak to anybody else. Unless, now, and there are exceptions to this. There's a percentage of people that will not speak to an offshore telemarketer, but for the most part, an American will give an offshore telemarketer a chance as long as they can communicate. That's why we have that cognitive screening process up front. So if an individual were to say that we're telemarketing, if they were to say, "Are you an agent?" The telemarketer, you never know what they're going to say or how they're going to say it. The telemarketer has to have that cognitive ability enough. They have to understand English and what English, American English. They have great English, but it's just the American English, and have to be able to relate to Americans. So it's that cognitive ability to relate to Americans and the American English to say, well, I'm not an agent. I'm not a licensed agent. There's many questions I can't answer. I'm going to have the agent visit with you tomorrow to go over this information. Would morning or afternoon be better? Or maybe they're going to set a time or whatever it is. Or I'll have the agent call you right back. Or is there a better time that we can schedule them to call you? So we have to have those telemarketers. They have to have, at a bare minimum, the ability to communicate, not just read a script. They can't just read a script and then when somebody says something, they're just lost. Because that's often the case. They're great at reading a script, but as soon as it goes off script a little bit, they sound like, well, wait a minute, this person really doesn't understand American English. And it annoys the American. So, but I want to go back to what I started with there. Americans do, in fact, they're happy to give a foreign telemarketer, an offshore telemarketer, the opportunity to earn their business, to talk to them. And, so there's a percentage of people that answer the phone. Those are the people that we're worried about. Many people won't answer the phone. We don't care about that. So as a company, we don't care about the people that don't answer the phone. We don't worry about the low answer rate. We just train our telemarketers to be on point when somebody does answer the phone. So it's like it's showtime. The person, they get bad call. Bam, somebody's there and they're receptive. That telemarketer needs to be on point. That's their cue to perform. And that's how we train them. So there's more put into it today. And that is why we've changed our business model so that we are giving them more attention, getting them more motivated, so that they have a better level of energy in order to perform for you, the agent. So no, telemarketing is not dead. Far from it. It's not going to die in the foreseeable future. As I said, spam call answers are increasing. So because again, people just can't not answer spam. It's crazy, but that's what's happening. So listen, if you need telemarketing, if you need leads, we're doing it for a flat fee, and we're putting not leads, but appointments on your calendar. That's what we want to do for you. Put appointments on your calendar every single day of every single week of the year, because that's how you get paid, by selling insurance. And go to MedicareAppointmentSetters.com, MedicareAppointmentSetters.com. We'll see you.